bask in the glory. Every other weekend there's a cognac story. Before we give a toast, better make sure they pour me another glass and put it in the air for the time that passed. I said bask in the glory. Every other weekend there's a cognac story. Before we give a toast, better make sure they pour me another glass and put it in the air for the time that passed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you are watching the video version of this podcast and you just saw me light up a nice hand rolled medical marijuana cigarette. I don't want to smoke into the mic. That's extremely rude. Breathing into the sound like I'm slurping a fucking dick, y'all. I don't want to do that into the microphone, so I will take a step back from the microphone like the great Tay of Chocolate Rain fame. Chocolate Rain. Something ease the pain. Apparently that song was about like black suffering. That's crazy. Shout out to Tay Zonday, man. The fucking one of the godfathers of being viral of the whole YouTube internet meme culture. A fucking legend. Tay Zonday. Chocolate Rain, baby. Chocolate Rain. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing today? How are you doing? Salutations. I had a wonderful weekend. Uh it's Wednesday today as I'm recording this, and the week is starting off amazingly well. It's starting off swimmingly. Great. I'm happy to be here, feeling healthy, feeling good, feeling young, a young 39. I think it is now a young 39. So my hair, you see the natural growth. If you're watching the video, you see the hair. I'm looking like a Sideshow Bob right now, actually. But I'm just happy to have hair, man. Like, going through the military for 20 years and being told to cut your shit off, and everybody around you, they're able to express themselves. And for black people, baby, our hair is our crown. Our hair is our crown, and it means something to us. We used to communicate through our hair back in the day in the Underground Railroad. In the Underground Railroad in slavery times, they would communicate slavery escape routes through braiding patterns in the hair. That is why our hair is so important to us. We used to communicate ways to gain our freedom in our hair. Don't let that go over your head. No pun intended. But how are you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, doing? All my cognac sippers, my connoisseurs, my sommeliers, my smokers, everybody. How are you doing today? I'm feeling lovely. I'm feeling immaculate. I feel like $1,000,000, you know. Let me tell you, man. Let me tell you some real shit, man. I went from having six figures to having -$6 in my account in a matter of like 2 weeks, prior to me moving to DC. And no one would know because I didn't take my situation and pile onto other people's shit, or just bring them down or lash out at people or whatever the case may be, man. And that has to do with resiliency. Over the course of my lifetime, just going through things, you learn how to be resilient when times get rough and not have it like affect your work or affect your other relationships with people. Because a lot of times we'll tend to lash out at the people that we love, the ones close to us, the ones we hurt the most when we're going through something. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Don't let the people close to you, the ones that are trying to support you, don't let them be your whipping posts. All right. Do not let your supporting posts become your whipping posts. That's a jewel. Put that in your backpack and take that with you, Dora. All right, you're done exploring now. As I sip from my blue cup that you can see is blue today, and I'm wearing all blue like a Crip. Shout out to my gang banging, dope dealing, felony friends out there. But no, I turned the green screen around, so now it's on the green side because I wanted to wear blue. Blue is my favorite color, and it's also the color of my love. All right. And then my cup is simply half and half, half lemonade and half water. Actually, no, half lemonade, half iced tea, and half water. So that's a third, a third, a third, a third. You know what I mean? I mean, we could call it Tiger Woods, because he's mixed. He doesn't claim shit, so we'll call this Tiger Woods. Lemonade, iced tea, and water. All right, leaving the alcohol alone for a while, just straight I'm back on my diet, so can't consume all those empty calories and sugar from the mixed drinks, except for brunch, except for Sunday brunch. Gotta have my little cheat day, my little bit of champagne topped with a little bit of cognac. All right, we call that a Tory and Meacham. All right, champagne topped with cognac. That's called a Tory and Meacham, or the Black Radical, whichever one you prefer. That's trademarked. I will fuck you up. You try to steal that. But feel free to use that when you go out on a date, and it'll impress whoever you're with, male, female, orangutan, who knows, man. Who knows. Um, Fuck, man, it's a lot to talk about. I feel like I've been going for a while, but I really haven't. But a lot has happened since the last time we were here. A lot has happened since the last time we were here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start the show, get with the shit. Shout out to all the new listeners, all the old listeners. If you listen to this, please share, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. Share it with your friends. If you don't like the podcast, then feel free to shit on it. All right, because no publicity is better than bad publicity. All right, bad publicity is better than no publicity. So if you hate this show, then please share it with your friends and all your Make America Great libertarian social networking groups, and just say, "Yo, I hate this guy. He's a fucking cuck," and share it. Because I would love for you to hate listen to me. That I get my rocks off. I get my rocks off by you hate listening to me. Listen, man, all my military veterans, we have a holiday coming up, Memorial Day. Salute to the veterans, salute to the veterans, salute to the veterans. Give me my fucking military discount, and that's all I want. I got rid of all of my uniforms when I retired. I donated everything back to the sailor, soldier, airman locker back on base. Donated all my uniforms. I got rid of everything from my military career, except for DD 214, obviously, and my military ID, obviously. And I kept one jacket. It's like an Eisenhower khaki Chiefs jacket that I got when I made Chief back in 2010. Shout out to NRD New York. And that was a gift given to me by a guy named Mike Ellis after I was accepted into the new fraternity of leadership in the military. And that's the only piece of military shit that I kept. Got rid of everything except for that jacket. I don't need anything else. All my trophies, awards, names, all that bullshit, burnt it, got rid of it. Fuck it. My daughter won't know me as that military guy. I don't really like looking back on that past right now anyway. Maybe someday 20 years down the road I'll buy another uniform and put some medals and ribbons on it so my daughter has something to do my career about. But no, I really don't want I don't want any of that kind of shit. I started over, started fresh, got rid of everything, and I'm getting an apartment here now. So I'm buying all new furniture. It's a whole new aura, whole new energy. I don't want to contaminate the new space with old drama, old issues, old energy. No bad energy, no bad energy, please. Word to Nas, the God MC, greatest storyteller, thug narrator. There is no style greater, no style greater. All right. I feel like I'm rambling right now, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm on track. I'm on time. I'm on target. Yo. Oh my God! Only submarine sailors will understand that. Yo, fuck. But yes, let me begin with some good news. Good news. Shout out to the DC Police Department, DC Metro, Capitol Police, all of you guys. Salute to you guys. So, DC Police to send, I just had a puberty break right there. I said DC. WNBC. But anyway, DC Police to send out mental health crisis teams instead of police in a new pilot program starting in June. In Washington, D.C., police get an average of about 90 calls a day for mental health crisis, but only about 20% of these officers are actually trained in crisis intervention. That's a frightening statistic, people. Imagine if only 20% of the lifeguards, imagine if only 20% of the lifeguards could actually swim, and the other 80% would either beat you over the head with an orange life preserver or they would shoot you with a harpoon. That's what we're talking about, people. 80% of the people responding to an emergency or a mental health crisis are not trained in that actual crisis intervention. That is extremely, extremely scary stuff, people. All right. But now, thanks to the efforts of a civilian police reform board, DC will launch a pilot program next month to shift some mental health calls to teams from the Department of Behavioral Health. Employees of 911 of the 911 call center will be trained on whether a crisis team should respond and whether a police response is appropriate. Many factors are going to play in that decision making, including the presence of a weapon and whether someone else is at risk of being hurt. This simple addition is bound to save countless lives. This was a community run program that made over 60 achievable recommendations to their local government. And now, after a month, 30 days later, after a month, it's now being implemented. And this is where the people of DC, this is where they knew their roles. This is why the topic and the title of today's show is Know Your Role. This is how they knew their role. They came together as a people, as a community, as a municipality, as a government. They came together to collaborate on a strategy to fix a systemic problem. The problem was identified, and they came together to collaborate on a way to fix this systemic problem. And now, 30 days later, they're putting it in action. Like my man KRS once said, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the beast. Speaking of jailbirds and police, Meek Mill and Rick Ross, MMG label mates. Rick Ross, put Meek on, signed Meek to his first deal, gave him his big major look, has been a super huge Meek Mill supporter. Now Rick Ross and Meek Mill are at odds. They are beefing now publicly. Recently, Meek Mill celebrated his 34th birthday and denied Rick Ross, aka the biggest boss, aka his boss, to his birthday party at Live nightclub. And it's Live on Sunday, King of Diamonds Monday. Maybe I can get out of this 360 deal one day. That's the remix to I'm a Boss. It appears that Meek is unhappy with his contract and is using elementary school tactics to express his frustration. Yo, you can't come to my birthday party. I'm mad at you. Come on, man. This is where you got to know your role, Meek. You got to know your role, my guy. You can't run around and say that I'm a boss. I'm a boss when you're assigned to another rapper. I'm looking at his recent track record and it's full of wins and a lot more losses. And I'm not seeing any championships, my guy. Zero championships, my guy. I'm looking around and I'm seeing L, L, L. And I'm not talking about James Todd Smith. You took an L with Nicki. All right. You had one of the baddest chicks in the game wearing your chain. And then you got hooks on Xannies and Lean. She's fine. She's married now, got a kid. I want to say second kid on the way, got just put an album out, still the queen of rap. And you're still trying to date strippers and bottle service girls, still in your Twitter feelings. All right. You took an L with Nicki. You got bodied by a singing nigga. That's right. So Drake bodied you in a battle, and Drake had to, give you the nice boost for your album because nobody was really checking for anything else except the Drake song. All right. So you got bodied by a light-skinned Canadian, half Hebrew, Jewish bat mitzvah eating the challah bread. Drake. Drake had a bar mitzvah and bodied you, a light-skinned singing nigga looking like a young Al B. Shore. He bodies you in a rap battle, and you're a battle rapper. All right. Van Jones and Kim Kardashian took over the entire police reform wave from you, bro. You used to be Martin Luther Meek, right? When you came out of jail and you were running around with Robert Kraft and things of that nature. And we thought you had, that was your lane. But then you let everybody else come in there and take your whole shit. You got Son. You got House. Van Jones came in there. Kim K came in there and they took your police reform movement for you. No one thinks about you when they think about police reform anymore. All right. And then Van Jones took Kanye bitch. So he came up with two W's. Yeah. And you came up with two L's. All right. Michael B. Jordan, aka Killmonger, aka Adonis Creed, aka smashing all the baddest bitches in Hollywood. I don't mean bitches, all the most lovely, attractive, young, single, eligible black women in Hollywood. Michael B. Jordan, aka Wallace from The Wire, has your dream girl, Lori Harvey, going to church and renouncing her Jezebel ways. She was having a hot girl summer, and now she is booed up like Ella May. and Lil Uzi is now the king of Philly. Word to Gilly. Little Uzi is the king of Philly now, man. I don't even know you in Philly. You out here worried about Miami shit. As the great poet Jadakiss would say, you are just a worker and your boss is my man. I hope the respective parties can work everything out. If not, who cares? Who fucking cares? I don't. I'm sorry. I don't care. I mean, you motherfuckers is rich. You sign bad contracts. It is what it is. The shit happens, but the end. Speaking of people who are a blight on society and a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Son, where'd you find this?
Caitlyn Jenner for Congress. Have you guys and gals and anything in between, have you people seen this? So the low man on the totem pole in the Kardashian Jenner clan and the winner of the 1976 Olympic gold medal for the men's decathlon, Caitlyn Jenner, has announced that she is running for political office. Congratulations. We need more diversity in politics. But wait, it gets worse. She'll be running on the Republican ticket and trying to leverage her relationship with the ex-president, reality TV star, and leader of the new 7th Cavalry, Donald Trump, in a bid to unseat Governor Newsom in the great state of California. Jenner would be looking to join fellow GOP politician Jordan Evans as the only openly transgender member of the Republican Party to be elected. This is because Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell, while both born with ashy vaginas, have chosen to express their gender identity as cucks instead. We applaud your bravery here on the show. Because it's not hard being a pioneer. You guys, I applaud your bravery. You guys are living in your truths. All right. You guys are living in your truths. But for Mrs. Jenner, I have to cock block you on your dreams of cornholing taxpayers without their consent. I can't allow that to happen. Unlike your gender choice or your bedroom preference, here's where I need you to understand your role. You were the bottom of your own household. Kris Jenner had all the big dick energy in that family. We watched for years as she clapped your fucking cheeks without even a goddamn courtesy of a reach around. That is un-American. So with that being said, how are you going to be the top in politics as the governor? I won't even spend too much time on your flawed political ideologies or social theories. I will simply go off your hypocritical views of transgender girls competing in school sports with cisgender girls. That's a perfectly, that's a perfectly that's a perfectly fine opinion. Let me say that right now. Okay. So Kate, who no longer has 8, has been very public about her opposition to trans girls competing with cis girls in school sports. And just like I said, that is a perfectly fine opinion to have. However, the winner of the Associated Press Male Athlete of the Year in 1976 not only plays golf and hits from the women's tees, but she has also competed in women's golf tournaments. Okay. She, a transgender 71-year-old woman, Caitlyn Jenner, Male Athlete of the Year, 1976 gold medal winner, plays golf and hits from the women's tees and competes in women's golf tournaments against other 71-year-old women, but doesn't want high school girls to compete against high school girls because they happen to be transgender. Is that not the pot telling the kettle to stop resisting? Come on. I can make that joke because I'm black, okay? I can make that joke because I'm black. Okay. So let's continue on. Let's continue on. Speaking of loving bad bitches and that being a fucking problem, shout out to my guy, ASAP Rocky, aka Pretty fucking Flacco, aka Stephen Hawking without the wheelchair. All right. You are the GOAT. He recently did an interview with GQ magazine and has been revealed that he is the world's smartest man. He is Osmandius. He is Dr. Manhattan. He is the world's smartest fucking man. All right. How was this discovery made, you ask? Well, he was quoted in the new GQ magazine saying that his new boo thing, Rihanna, was the love of his life and she's the one. Rihanna was the love of his life, and she's the one. Listen, my guy. Breaking news. She's everybody's the one, my guy. Everybody. She would be their perfect girlfriend. She would be the love of their life. She would be the one. Drake sent Chris Brown bottles of champagne in a club with a note that said, "I'm fucking the love of your life." Rihanna will be the love of your life if you ever had her in your life. I'm telling you that right now. All right. Drake is still hurt from being left on red from her, man. Salute to the God. Salute to ASAP Rocky. He put her, I'm not going to say he put her, he got her to put herself in his video for Fashion Killer from his first album. Shout out to ASAP Mob, Gang, rest in peace, Yams. That was a great first album. But Fashion Killer, great song. She was in the video. All right. She was in the video. Great song, great video. ASAP got her to be in the video. And ever since then, they've been cordial. And he's just been on the wing. He's been waiting in the wings, doing his thing. Where's the love, right? That's been him chilling. That's been him chilling. That's been him just chilling. Salute to the God. And he's seen the dumb shit that all her former flames and all her former boyfriends have done. And he's just done the exact opposite. That's all you got to do, my guy. My only concern is that the Big Blood, Chris Breezy and Tory Lanez haven't linked up. And his new joint album that they're actually working on isn't a joint hit on ASAP Rocky and Partisan Fontaine, who is Megan Thee Stallion's new boo. Hey, man, both these niggas is bloods. So Tory Lanez shot a nigga. You know what Chris Brown be doing. Hey, if they get Big Soldier from the hood, it's going to be a fucking massacre. It's going to be a fucking massacre. But seriously, Rihanna is worth $600 million goddamn American dollars to ASAP Rocky's respectable $10 million net worth. This is why ASAP Rocky is a fucking genius. ASAP Rocky knows his role. It's just that pretty motherfucker. Harlem is where he is repping. All right. God damn. This motherfucker's a genius, man. Riri, her ex-boyfriend, billionaire executive Hassan Jamil, was worth $2.2 billion. $2.2 billion. This family owned a soccer league. They're like the big distributor for Toyota in the Middle East, and he's like an heir to his empire. $2.2 billion on this guy. And he's a handsome guy. Like, I'm no homo, but this is a good looking guy. He's well put together. He's in shape. All this shit is well groomed. I mean, he's a handsome guy. All right. But he's not that pretty motherfucker. Harlem is where he's repping. All right. God damn. Ex-boyfriend was a fucking billionaire. And that's what I'm talking about, man. She's not after money. She is not after money. She want that fucking big Val Boski. Yo, she want the fucking roller quarters, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Hey, she want that Harlem hot dog, man. Take that bitch to Coney Island, man. 4th of July style, no Kobayashi. Joey Chestnut eating them things. But yo, listen. She don't want that money. And this is where you got to salute the guy to MCing. And by MC means macking chicks, apparently. I mean, shit. He had Iggy Azalea before she got that surgery and fucked the ass up. And she tatted his name on her hand. Not only that, GQ named him the prettiest man alive on the cover of their latest magazine. So you got like The Rock and Idris Elba and all these fucking jacked ass, sweaty, muscle bound motherfuckers getting sexiest man alive. And they say, okay, he's the prettiest man alive though. He'll take your bitch. Like he probably was. He's a skinny dude, skinny guy. You know, he seems like he's in like weed smoker shape. You know, pretty well dressed guy. Yeah, man, you got to watch out. That's like back in the day, Mick Jagger. You know, Keith Richards, you know, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, you know, all those classic rock stoner kind of guys. That whole vibe never went away. It just transcended genres, you know, and that's kind of how a lot of the new younger rockers now, you know, they're stoners or they lean more towards punk, you know, and it's nice to see, man. It's nice to see a guy like ASAP Rocky get this super huge W. My only advice I have for you, Rocky, is don't meek this up. Congrats to you, King. Salute to the God. All right. One of the big things that has been going on in just the podcasting world, the broadcast journalism world, media in general, black social media, black Twitter, black Instagram, black Facebook has been having a field day with this shit for the past 6 to 8 weeks. Has been the public breakup and demise of the #1 hip hop podcast in the history of music, the Joe Budden Podcast. Joe Budden from New Jersey. Joe Budden Podcast is no more. Rory and Maul have been fired, and not just fired, they were fired. Vince McMahon, you're fired. He's Vince McMahon is two boys live on a podcast over, you know, some inconsistencies and questionable behavior on the party of everybody. And at the end of the day, it was a lot of miscommunications, and people didn't establish barriers in business. They didn't establish barriers in business. When you mix finances and friends, when you mix finances and friendship, you have to build barriers in business. I just made that shit up. All right. if you motherfuckers try to take that, I will sue the pants off you. Just like Joe Budden said to Rory about starting another podcast. How are you going to sue your friend for starting another podcast because he didn't want to stay on the podcast with you because you were mistreating him? That's fucking crazy. But here's the deal. There's several things that, I would like to discuss. Just that I saw that were like issues to me with this whole situation, because you have friends versus business partners, people knowing their role with regards to friendship versus business partners. You have employees knowing their role versus the boss. And then you have when you should be able to obtain equity in a company that you work for. All right. And so let's just talk about friends and business partners. Biggie said, keep your family and business completely separated. Keep your money and your family completely separated. It don't mix. It don't mix. You can't mix business and friendship unless if you're going to mix finances with friendship, you got to build boundaries. Got to build boundaries in business. And that's with anything. If you have a co-worker or any kind of setting, whether it's blue collar, white collar, yellow collar, I don't know what the fuck that is, right? But any kind of situation, professional environment where you have friendship involved and you're working for a friend or a friend's working for you, you got to build boundaries, or you got to place boundaries to separate you guys, so your judgment and your objectivity will not come into play. And so with the Joe Budden podcast, the issue was his friends felt they were business partners and felt that they built this podcast together, and that the popularity of the podcast wasn't solely on the fact of Joe Budden's name brand appeal, or the appeal of the chemistry of the friendship that they have on the podcast. And they felt that that should give them some leverage, or that they help build the podcast. And if you're aware of what's going on, you heard Joe Budden fire them, and you heard his other shit that he did, and then you heard Rory and Maul say their piece about them asking to see the finances, and Joe saying that the podcast isn't Maul's business, and Rory asking where certain money is coming from. Here is what the fucking problem is. First off, you guys know Joe is an egomaniac. All right. Some would say narcissist or also the bullshit. I'm not using terms like that. He has a huge ego. He says it. I can only go off of what he says, right? So he wants to control everything. And that it comes from in his previous music career, when he let other people control things, it fucked him. He got shitty deals, and every deal I had some wild shit going on, and blah, and couldn't get shit together until he took things into his own hands, started his own podcast, got paid off his own IP. So he wants to control things. And with the friendship versus the business partner, one thing that was an issue was Maul saying that he didn't work for Joe. He's like, I don't work for you. I don't work for you. Yeah, you do. If Joe signs your check, you work for Joe. If you have whether you're a revenue sharing or you're a salary employee, you work for Joseph Anthony Budden. All right. If he signs the check, then you work for Joe. The end. It's Joe's show. What he says goes. The end. Unless the shit is a democracy or something like that, or you guys vote on the topics by committee, but that didn't seem to be what it was. So if he's doing the majority of the marketing, promotion, and bringing the business deals in, it's his show. You are an employee. You're just a worker, and your boss is my man. Shout out to Jadakiss. All right. And that's the issue. They didn't understand the role of friendship and then the role of being an employee. All right. If they were if they were paying Parks and paying Savon and paying Scream Man and paying fucking Erickson and they paid the old Chris Brown and they paid Marissa Menendez, if they were paying employees and paying for the server space and paying for the advertising and brokering deals, then you might have some leverage. But if they're not doing that, then your friendship matters not. All right. And Maul wanting to see the books. Nigga, if you ain't writing no check, you ain't seeing where the checks come from. All right. And what the issue with the other issue is that Joe didn't build a barrier. One of the things that Park said was that they should have had a manager. Yes, you should have a general manager or an office manager. Like in an office, you have a boss, and then you have the employees. They have an office manager in between that handles the shit that the boss shouldn't be handling. You know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about. They didn't have a barrier, so they should have had a manager in the middle that managed the podcast. So if production had a problem, they didn't go to Joe, they went to the manager. All right. So then Joe can hold the manager accountable for doing that shit because Joe's wearing too many hats. And that's one of the problems with having that huge of an ego where you want to manage everything. You micromanage shit. And then when you micromanage shit, you worry about you forget about the macro problem, which is the chemistry of the podcast, because that is what the listenership is based on. When I watch the Joe Budden show, I don't care what topics they're talking about. I want to see all of them talk together because I value their friendship, right? I don't value the content of what they're talking about. I value their opinions and I value their friendship, their chemistry. All right. That's what I go to watch. Like when I watch Skip and Shannon, I don't care what they're talking about. I watch it to see their chemistry. All right. And that's why the fans were so upset about the shit. That's it. That's the equity that the guys had, but they didn't understand how to leverage it when it came to being a friend versus a business partner. If Joe signs your check, if Joe pays you, you work for Joe. The end. Like, let's not try to be cool. All right. You guys were getting paid six figures, allegedly between $250,000 to $400,000 a year to talk with your friends. And you don't got to promote. You don't got to edit. You're not paying for any of this shit. All right. You getting paid by your man in a pandemic to just talk twice a week. And you motherfuckers getting too big for your fucking britches. You don't know your role. All right. But Joe's on the hook too because he doesn't understand his role as a leader. All right. Kevin Hart, God bless Kevin Hart. He was just on his podcast. He has a podcast. I did not know. He has a podcast. 1 second. As I take my cannabis break. Kevin Hart has a podcast. And he said Joe firing Rory and Mal was piss poor leadership. And that that's just a shit thing to do. And it's unprofessional and blah, 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 blah. Kevin Hart left his friends in a wrecked vehicle after careening off of an embankment, driving too fast and not wearing seatbelts. Kevin Hart left his friends in a wrecked car and left the scene of an accident because he didn't want to be at the accident when the cops came. All right. They had the seatbelts. The seatbelts were tucked into the seats. The car had seatbelts and the seatbelts were tucked into the seats. You were going around a fucking curve at like 80 miles an hour. The Department of Transportation report is out. This is all public knowledge. And you left the scene of the accident, left your friends in a wrecked car. And you said that was poor leadership on Joe Budden's part. Well, you're right. It was poor leadership. It was terrible leadership. You're supposed to praise in public and you chastise behind closed doors. If you got a counsel or critique, you do it behind closed doors and you praise publicly. All right. Firing them on air in the manner at which he did would persuade someone interested in thinking about working for him to not do that. Why would you want to work for a boss that's just completely unprofessional? If that were like the corporate workplace, you could file a grievance. All right. You can file a grievance. That's unprofessional. Rory could actually sue Joe for slander for some of the things that he said. And if they have documented proof of anything, they could take him to court as well, for libel. I don't want to say slander, but libel. It's a suable offense. And you got these guys that you've been in the game with for 7-8 years. You built up a fan base, built up a chemistry relationship. We've seen you guys come from nothing to being wealthy and building something that's going to last generationally. And then you guys can't work out simple communication issues, and communication issues, like we just on the last podcast, I mean, they plague our community. Men suffer from them greatly. And it's because men just can't say what they feel, say what they mean, instead of talking in code or trying to spare someone's feelings or being worried about a friendship. You have to express yourself. It's like James Brown said, express yourself. You got to express yourself. If not, it'll be a volcano. It'll be a volcano, and then it'll erupt as word vomit, or it'll erupt as you saying something that you didn't mean. You said something in the heat of the moment, in the heat of passion, something that you regret, that you want to take back. So you gotta take care of these mountains while there's still molehills, people. All right. And let's start a drinking game. Every time I say, all right, you should do a shot. That's a terrible habit. I'm keeping track of it now, and I'm trying to prevent myself from saying it. I used to stutter. So to come from sounding like Woody Woodpecker or Porky Pig to where we are now, being a world-renowned hip-hop artist, lyricist, poet, friend of homeless people, and handsome guy. Second to ASAP Rocky, apparently, and Idris Elba. But yeah, so salute to me for overcoming a speech impediment. But yeah, Rory and Maul getting fired in public was terrible. Terrible. This is a conversation that I have with my friends. We have a group chat. We have conversations like this. And there's a split opinion about who was wrong. Joe was wrong. Rory and Maul were wrong. At the end of the day, both parties were wrong. And the people that are most impacted by this are now the families. So Rory's family and Maul's family and Joe's family, because we're all going to take a hit with our earning potential now, because we have this multi-million-dollar IP that we were all emotionally invested in and physically and mentally invested in. And we made money with. We've been on tour, and we couldn't just communicate as men and hold together. So now future employees looking at us, or future employers looking at us as well, future business partners are like, I don't know if they can manage this. I know that's how they're looking at Joe. Like, yo, fam, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they couldn't manage it. It's horrible. It's horrible. It just hurts me thinking about it. It just hurts me thinking about it because I'm a fan of the show. And you got everybody now looking at Joe do what people thought Joe was going to do, which was implode, which is build something up like everyday struggle, and then it just imploded. And then you see him in relationships, and then they implode, all from things that he's done, and now you got the #1 podcast rivaling Joe Rogan and implodes, and now you got Rory, his family. He lost a 6-figure paycheck. Maul, the same thing. It's just sad to see, sad to see all around. But I'm happy to see other leaders in the community, in the podcasting world, speak out about it, because it can be a lesson learned. You got to understand contracts, understand the kind of leverage you have. You understand that anywhere else in the world where you just skip 6 days of work, you're not going to have a job anymore. You got to understand that in a relationship that's familiar, whether it's family or friends, and you have a business aspect to that as well, you got to have barriers. Managers exist for a reason. Use them. But another question is, when should you be able to obtain equity in a company? And a perfect example of this is the notorious Conor McGregor. Perfect example. He thought that he deserved equity in the UFC because he brought X amount of pay-per-views to the company, which generated X amount of dollars, and sold X amount of tickets, which brought in the largest gates. And so he said, hey, I can quantify my direct impact to this company. And now I want a piece of the company. He's a good example because when he's not on the card doesn't sell 1 million pay-per-views. And if we're talking about $65 for a card, he sells 1 to 1.5 million, regardless of who he's fighting. All right. That's a drink because I said, all right. So he sells 1 million pay-per-views at $65 a piece. Guess how much money that is? A lot of fucking money, baby. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot of money. And now you're getting charged on average $250 to $300 a ticket, and you got 16,000 people coming to see you fight. You got 20,000 people coming to see you fight, the headliner, the main event. That's a lot of money. Break your calculators out. That's a lot of money. You see the closed circuit come back. How many businesses and bars bought that fight compared to the last fights that you weren't on? You see your pay-per-view numbers. You see your merchandise sales. You see your ticket sales. You see the autograph line around the building. That's how you know when you should be asking for equity, when you can quantify your direct impact to the company and what it is when you're not around. So when you look at Conor McGregor, he sold the most pay-per-views, sold the most tickets, made the most money, drawn the most gates. And when he had a fight outside of the UFC, he made $100 million off that with Floyd Mayweather. So he was a great guy to ask for equity in the company. But now the UFC is a publicly traded company, so he can buy in just like I did. It's Endeavor. If you're looking to buy stock in the UFC, WME Endeavor is the company that owns the UFC. They were founded by, Ari Emanuel. The same character that Ari Gold from Entourage is based on. One of my favorite shows. Shout out to Turtle. Shout out to Johnny Drama. Vinny Chase. I miss you guys. But yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. That's what it is. When you can draw those kind of numbers, when you can draw that kind of gate, when you can quantify your direct impact monetarily, that's what you can ask for equity. Rory and Maul couldn't do that. A way they could have did that would have been if they would have took Joe's advice and started their own podcast, and they could see, hey, we get 100,000 downloads on our podcast. So they can look at that and they can take all that momentum that they would have from having their own spinoff podcast, and they can use that and say, hey, Joe, this is the impact that we bring. We bring a guaranteed 200,000 listeners out of 1 million listeners monthly, because they can take that many listeners to their own separate podcast. Or they can say, hey, we were able to go and broker these outside deals just as individuals. Or we have these other companies on the outside that would like to talk business with us, based on my interaction with them. You bring in some outside deals, now you have some bargaining equity. But if you're just an employee and you're not doing anything to help grow this business, my business that I started, who put this thing together? Me. That's who. All right. Who put this thing together? Me. So unless you are trying to grow it, then how are you going to take a piece of it? That's just, and Joe couldn't communicate that in a healthy manner. And that's why, you've seen the blow up on the podcast where he publicly fired Rory and Maul and said some things that he later apologized for and said, oh, I didn't mean to say those things. Well, that's why you need to learn how to articulate your feelings, buddy. That's what therapy's for. And that's something that even his therapist said. And even while she was on there, she's trying to break down some things to him that he just couldn't get. He just couldn't communicate properly in a healthy manner. And so, sad to see the podcast break up First the Fat Boys breakup, then the JBP breakup, and now somebody got a problem with Hove. Shit, Joe Budden, you got to get it together. That shit, we can't have this happen with Ish and Ice, because I mean, if that happens, then I can't support you anymore, and it's just a toxic. You're just a cancer to anything. But I still support the JBP. I just subscribed to the Patreon. It's good content. I like his opinion. I'm a Joe Budden fan, but to see that public, just that's how bitches move. That's how bitches get messy and get public and do shit like that. That's like high school bitch shit. That's like, it's just fucking sus, man. And I'm sad to see. I'm sad to see. Hate to see it. Hate to see it. But hope. I don't know if I can recover from something like that. I mean, my man did make a diss song about me. My man did make a diss song about me. The song wasn't. It wasn't. Nobody was going to hear it, so I didn't care too much. But bro, if you fire me and shit on me in public like that to a million listeners, you got another thing coming. If you think we're still gonna be friends after that, we gotta fight, and then maybe we could be friends. Back in the day, friends would fight. I fought a lot of my friends, and we're still great friends today. It's just some things you gotta go through, you gotta deal with, and sometimes you gotta get physical with your friends. But sad to see the JBP break up, and that's it. If you are watching the video or listening to the audio and it seems like there was an odd pause or transition in the middle of that last segment, that's because my entire computer decided to shut down and restart in the middle of me taping this. So that's why there's a weird little pause or gap when I was talking about taking the momentum from the Rory and Maul podcast and bringing it to the Joe Budden bargaining table. That's why. No weird shit, and I'm not fucking geeking out or nothing like that. My computer shut down. So I'm having a conversation with my guy in the group chat, and he asked me, did I see the show on Amazon Prime called Them? And I said, hey, man, heard about the show, not watching it. I don't like seeing Black suffering on television as a genre. And he didn't understand what I meant by that. And we're going back and forth. And he's like, oh, it's a good show. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm sure it is. I take your word for it. But I don't like seeing Black suffering as a genre of television. I don't need to see Black people being lynched or hung or burned or beat or in bondage or being captured. I don't need to see that. I know that it happened. I don't need to see it. And what part, like how important is it to the narrative or the story being told? If it's a story I've already heard or seen, I don't need to see it. I can just not watch the show. It's fine. Same thing with like women being abused and things like that. I don't watch shows or movies, or I don't watch that kind of shit. Shows that have gratuitous sex, I don't watch that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's great, but I just avoid it. It's just not my cup of tea. And and I'm telling them like, hey man, you don't see any other race that has a whole genre of suffering as a category on Netflix. You have 12 Years a Slave. You have Birth of a Nation. You got The Help. You got The Green Book. You got Selma. You got all these movies about Black suffering and the 13 and When They See Us. And you got all this Black suffering and Black trauma that many of us live through. And my friend is like, well, they need a reminder. Who the fuck needs a reminder? I know I don't. I'm not mad at the actors for taking the job and getting a paycheck. Bro, you got to get paid. Do what you got to do, man. I'm not knocking anybody for doing their job. However, as a consumer, I don't have to partake in that kind of stuff. So for me, I didn't watch what was the show, the sci-fi show on Lovecraft County. I didn't watch that. Like once I saw where it was set and what it was about, I was like, I'm not watching that shit. And then even with Watchmen, on HBO. After I saw the first episode, I had to give it I had to let it sit for an entire year. I started watching it when it premiered. I watched the first episode. I'm like, there's too much KKK shit for me. And I had to come back to it at a time when I was willing to sit through some kind of shit like that. It was a great show, but it was hard to watch because shit like that is triggering to me, and all it does is upset me and make me want to hurt people. And when I started watching the show, I was not in a position where I could have those kind of feelings. All right. And so that's the thing. I don't need a reminder. That shit is not for black people. That shit is for everybody else that needs to watch that as some form of entertainment. Look at the Jews. Look at the Jewish population, the Jewish culture, the Jewish massive. Shout out to all the Jews. J gang in the building. Gang, gang. Bang, bang, dreidel gang. All right. So you don't see too many Holocaust movies. You don't see too many movies about them being in internment camps. They're not making television genre or a movie genre or a genre of entertainment out of their suffering. You see a Schindler's List and The Red Balloon and Life is Beautiful. You know, maybe you see a couple movies, that's it. You haven't seen anything recently. You don't see other Jews telling other people, yo, you should really watch The Man in High Castle. You should really watch that show. Why should I watch that show? But when it comes to other people and black people, or black people and other people, they're like, hey, have you watched this show about black suffering and trauma? I live it. I don't want to watch it. I live it. I don't want to watch it. So Ava DuVernay, Queen Ava, I love you. I didn't watch When They See Us. I lived through that as a kid. I watched the entire trial happen. As a kid, I've been stopped by police and been fucked with and been beat up and shit as a kid, as a teenager. You know, I've went through that. I've seen friends go through that. I don't need to watch that shit. 12 years a slave. I know slavery happened. I know white people came to the North and took black people and made them slaves after having a whole life of freedom. And I don't want to say slaves. They enslaved them. Slave isn't a class of people. Slavery, enslaving people, is what white Americans did. All right. So let's not say slaves, like slaves is an approximation to black people, or equated to black people. No, enslaved people. Okay. And so I don't need to see that shit. I don't need to see the Underground Railroad. I don't need to see a movie about black people moving into a white neighborhood and getting discriminated against. I don't need to see that. That's not a new story for me. When they made Us, that was a new story. When they made Get Out, that was a new story. We don't need to see a bunch of remakes of the same stories. Tell me new stories. We have a very rich culture to pull from. I'm tired of seeing stories about Egyptian gods. Egypt is one corner of Africa, and guess what? They don't consider themselves black. Sorry to break it to ya. Okay, it's not anything bad. They consider themselves Egyptian, like anybody else should. All right, like someone from the Congo should consider themselves Congolese. They shouldn't consider themselves black. Black was created in America. Black was created when they had to take away our culture, and they had to call us something when we got here to the New World. They couldn't tell us what our tribes were, what our language was, what our culture was. So black is what we became. And out of that blackness, we created our culture, which is in turn the only true culture in America, besides the indigenous culture of the indigenous Americans. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. If you're not telling me a new story, I don't need to see some black suffering. Black people do shit besides get shot by the police and run away from slavery. We fly. We have black astronauts. Tell me a story about the first black astronaut. Tell me a story about black time travel. Tell me a story about black archaeologists. Tell me a story about Matthew Henson going to, the North and South Pole. Tell me a story about that. All right. That's a drinking game, so you got to drink when I say all right. Tell me those stories. Tell me the story about Benjamin Banneker. Tell me the story about, fuck, man, I can go on, Garrett Morgan. Tell me the stories that you haven't told me yet. I want to hear Black excellence, Black success. How many stories do you see about Irish people in a potato famine? you know, like, what the fuck? I don't ever see any, Latino, Latinx stories like that getting put out. They're putting about their successes, their triumphs. And we're the only ones that are making an artistic genre out of our suffering. Gotta end that. Gotta end that. I think that's playing into the victim mentality. And then those are the only films that get awards at the fucking award shows, at the Golden Globes, at the Oscars. Those are the ones that get awards because they make white people feel guilty. And they're like, oh, we got to get us an award, even though it's fucking trash. The Green Book, talking about you, shitty movie. Should not have won any fucking awards. It should have won the award for the shittiest movie, a Razzie Award. Movie fucking sucked, and it wasn't about what the fucking Green Book was about. That's not what the fucking Green Book was about. The Green Book was not about driving around a racist white man who then becomes less racist. That's not what the Green Book was about. Get emotional over that shit, man. But yeah, I'm not. I have no interest in watching Black suffering as a genre. Okay. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. How long have I been going for? It seems like an hour. I'm not trying to keep you guys here all day. I was about to talk about mental health. I don't really want to talk about that right now. And I can get a mental health professional on here and I can just ask them questions. Yeah, man. I think it's been an hour. Yeah. So might have to wrap this up soon. Do you guys watch UFC out there? All my UFC fans, how the fuck are you? Had a great weekend of fights. Charles Oliveira became the new lightweight champion. He beat Michael Chandler, Iron Mike Chandler, who was looking phenomenal. It was an amazing first round. Charles Oliveira, who was 10-8 in the first 18 fights in his career in the UFC, and then went on this impressive 8-fight win streak, culminating with him knocking out, coming back from the jaws, coming back from the brink of defeat and snatching it and winning, knocking out Michael Chandler in the early second round, clean knockout after being demolished in the first round. He had a lot of control and he threatened some submissions, but Michael Chandler was getting him on the feet and then started beating the brakes on him once he, got him in some ground and pound, got him in guard. He was beating him. He was landing some shots. There was a point where the fight could have been stopped, but Charles Oliveira continued to defend himself intelligently by moving his head, even though he was getting hit repeatedly on top of his fucking dome. But, once he got to the corner, he got that second win and said, yo, I ain't going out like that. Ain't going out like that. I ain't going out like Cypress Hill. And then he came back and then starched them with a clean check hook that put him the fuck out. And so congratulations to Charles Oliveira. That was excellent. Yeah, man, this is crazy, man. My guy LaMelo Ball knocked out the NBA playoffs. They had the play-in tournament. I think the Pacers played the Hornets, and LaMelo Ball was eliminated from the NBA playoffs. LeBron James hates the playoffs play-in format. That should have only been for the bubble because now they brought it to this shit. And so now instead of the top 8 teams, the 9 and 10 team can play into the tournament. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. I would be pissed if I was number 7 or number 8, and that's the Golden State Warriors and the Lakers. They're 7 and 8, and they got to worry about a fucking play-in tournament now. And Steph Curry is hot. He is hot. He just won the fucking scoring title, 32 points a game or something sick. He is hot. He is fucking scorching hot right now. and he is going to give people problems in the playoff. Like playoff Curry is different. He's going to drop 40 a game. I wish Klay Thompson was back. Holy shit. Yeah, the NBA playoffs are going to be fucking sick. As you can see, I'm visibly happy. The Knicks, the fucking New York Knicks are in the playoffs. Shout out to all you faithful Knicks fans. Women, if you want to find a good man, find a New York Knicks fan because they are the only loyal ones left. Holy shit. To be a Knicks fan is a testament to patience. Jesus Christ. Knicks fans have been patient for so long, and they made the playoffs outright. Shout out to Julius Randle, Derrick Rose. They are playing phenomenal. RJ Barrett, the New York Knicks are in the fucking playoffs, and the New York Knicks are in the fucking playoffs, man. James Dolan, fuck you, you still suck. But the Knicks are in the playoffs. And no one cares about the Brooklyn Nets. If the Brooklyn Nets aren't the number one seed, which they aren't, they're not the number one seed, then the Brooklyn Nets had a failure. They have a fucking all-star team, and no shit NBA all-star team. You forget that James Harden is on the team because of fucking Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and I'm about to say Peter Griffin and Blake Griffin. Oh my God. Yo, if the Nets don't win a championship, Steve Nash should just fucking exile himself to Canada. They have a fucking they have a cheating ass when you play NBA 2K or NBA Live and you draft and you fucking do the fantasy draft and put all the goddamn good players on your team. That's what they did. If they don't win a championship, it's a fucking wrap. It's a wrap. It's a fucking wrap, man. But yeah, this week has been crazy, and it feels like I've been going for a while, but it's only been a couple of days, man. So yeah, let me know how you guys like the format. I'll have a co-host, a co-panelist, a co-contributor here next week. So let me know how you like things. Like, subscribe, share. If you disagree with something, I don't give a fuck. It's my show. I do what I want. Word to Cartman. But no, if you like the new format, if you like the old format, this is a dynamic, ever-evolving process, just like Bruce Lee said, be like water. Be like water. All right? So, as always, hey, treat your friends nicely. Tell your friends you love them. Don't fire them on national fucking TV or on Al Gore's internet, all right? And also, fuck being woke. Should have never been asleep. We out. Peace.